The functional marriage. I didn't think my marriage was happy. But I also didn't think it was fake. And that difference is what takes the longest to destroy you. We'd been married for 8 years. Not 8 years of passion, nor of eternal promises. 8 years of functioning. Like a machine that still starts up, but is already making strange noises. We got up at the same time. We had breakfast together without talking much. We asked each other how our day had been, like someone fulfilling an emotional obligation. She said that's what adult love was like. That the movies had lied to us. That this was reality, stability, routine, shared silence. And I nodded. Because admitting that something was wrong meant accepting that I had invested years of my life in an incomplete version of love. I didn't suspect anything. I adapted. And that's the most dangerous thing someone who loves can do. Adapt to emptiness. Infidelity doesn't begin with kisses. It begins with induced guilt. The phone lying face down was the first sign. But not the important one. The important one was how she made me feel for noticing it. When I asked her, she smiled. Not tenderly. With superiority. Why do you always look for problems where there aren't any? She said. And that's where it all started. Every doubt of mine became a flaw in my life. Every question, an unfair accusation. Every silence of hers, an exaggeration on my part. I started apologizing for things I hadn't done. For thoughts I hadn't said out loud. For discomforts that were completely reasonable. That's gaslighting. But you don't know it until you're in the middle of it. You start to think you're insecure. That you're broken. That if you lose that person, it's because you didn't know how to love properly. Meanwhile, she slept peacefully. After a while, something changes inside you. It's not suspicion. It's hypervigilance. Not because you want to spy. But because your body has already understood something your mind still refuses to accept. You start noticing absurd details. The exact tone she uses when she says, "I'm late." The way she sighs before answering. The words she repeats every time she lies, as if they were a rehearsed script. It's not that big of a deal. You're exaggerating. You always do the same thing. Small phrases. Seemingly harmless. But repeated often enough, they begin to reprogram you. I stopped arguing. I nodded. I apologized. And that reassured her. Because when someone stops asking questions, that's when lying becomes comfortable. I started noticing that her stories had holes. No clear contradictions. Gaps. Times that didn't add up. Journeys that were too long. Fatigue that didn't match what he said he'd done. But every time I tried to connect the dots, something inside me kicked in. Don't be ridiculous. You have no proof. What if you're just looking for a reason to sabotage everything? That's also part of gaslighting. They don't just lie to you. They train you to stop yourself. There was one particular night I remember with unsettling clarity. We were sitting on the couch. Each of us on our phones. Total silence. She started typing. She smiled. It wasn't a big smile. It was a micro-expression. An intimate gesture that only appears when someone feels watched. But not by the person in front of them. I asked her what was so funny. She didn't even look up when she answered. Some work nonsense. And she said it so easily. So rehearsed. That I felt ashamed I'd asked. Ashamed. Within my own marriage. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I suspected infidelity. But because I began to feel something worse. The certainty that I no longer had. And I didn't have the key. I started checking things without realizing it. Not like a detective. Like someone trying to find peace of mind. I checked the time when she arrived. I compared days. I remembered old phrases. And every time I found something strange, my reaction wasn't anger. It was fear. Fear of being right. Because if I was right, then everything I had built would no longer exist. One day I asked her something simple. If she was going to be late. She looked at me strangely. As if annoyed. Do I have to check in now? She said. And that's when something definitive happened. I backed down. I said no. That I was just asking. That she should forget about it. I saw relief on her face. And I understood something that still hurts to admit. She knew I already suspected something. And I knew exactly how to keep quiet. That night I looked in the mirror. And I didn't recognize myself. Not because I was broken. But because I had shrunk. I had learned to take up less emotional space. So as not to make her uncomfortable. I had stopped being her partner. And become someone who didn't get in the way. And that was the exact moment my marriage truly began to die. Not with infidelity. But with my silence. The night was unremarkable. That's what hurts the most to remember. We ate dinner without talking much. The television was on just to fill the space. She got up, said she was going to take a shower, and left her cell phone on the table. Face up. She never did that. The first vibration was gentle. I didn't look. The second was insistent. Nor. The third lit up the screen. It wasn't a familiar name. It wasn't a term of endearment. It was someone who felt comfortable texting her. Last night was incredible. I can still feel your body. There were no screams inside me. No immediate rage. Just a cold disconnection, as if the... She smiled at me. She asked if everything was okay. And I knew, with terrifying clarity, that she could lie to me while looking me in the eyes without feeling a thing. I waited days. Then weeks. Not out of fear. Out of a need to understand who I was in her story. I activated backups. I checked chat histories. I recovered deleted messages. It wasn't just sex. It was complicity. Gentle teasing about me. Comments about my job, my schedule, my absences. Private jokes built on my trust. I discovered that I paid for the dinners. The trips. The gifts she used with him. I financed my own humiliation. The cruelest thing wasn't what she said about me. It was how little it meant. There was no hatred. There was indifference. And yet, every night, she told me, I love you. That breaks you in a different way. We kept living together. Like actors who no longer believe in the play. I knew. She knew that I knew. But nobody said anything. That's advanced manipulation. Making you carry the weight of silence. She cooked. She laughed. She made plans for the future. I nodded. Inside, I was saying goodbye. Every gesture of hers was confirmation that she was no longer with me. And yet, she made me feel guilty for not being present. Gaslighting at its most elegant. I kept evidence. I left my phone unlocked. The evidence was laid bare. No yelling. She saw everything. She didn't deny it. She didn't cry. I can explain, she said. I looked at her and replied. No need. I've listened to you for years. I slept on the couch. The next morning, we weren't living together anymore. The message wasn't for me. But it was what saved me. I consulted a lawyer. I sorted out my emotional baggage before my physical one. She noticed the change. She was sweeter. More attentive. That's part of the game too. Sweetening when you sense loss. I didn't hate her. I saw her.